Joined now behind the mic, going to Peterborough, Ontario, and the voice of the Peterborough Petes, Rob Snoek. Rob, the Petes off to a strong start this season. Was this expected? What does the long-term forecast look like this year in Peterborough?
I think we all thought they were going to be pretty good, but I don't think a lot of people thought they would be as good as they were for a stretch there, where they pretty much went about 3 weeks with one shootout loss was about the only blemish, 3 weekends. But lately it's been a little bit more hit and miss. But the biggest factor lately has been injuries. They've lost some key players to injuries and taken a little bit of a hit in terms of the wins and losses, although they've still managed to pull off a few wins. But there's been a couple of losses, and they're one of them of the ugly variety in Mississauga last weekend. But I think the biggest factor there, again, is injuries. But yeah, we thought they were going to be a good team. Do we think they were going to be this good and this high in the standings? I'm not so sure.
Now, as you and I talked before we hit record, a lot of NHL prospects on the Petes. It would take a while to ask about them individually, so I'll ask for you, who stands out the most? Who are the most likely future pro players in the Peterborough lineup?
Probably the most talented player in Peterborough is Jonathan Ang. He's a fourth-round pick of the Florida Panthers, skates like the wind. His problem is, like a lot of 18 and 19-year-olds, is just consistency and bringing it every night, and he's still trying to figure it out. I think he's probably spent most of his life as the fastest and most talented player on every team he was on. And probably in most cases, nobody could ever keep up with him. And so the whole teamwork aspect of it for him, sometimes he misses out on, but when he's got it, then he's incredible. In fact, and the other one in terms of the talent scale that is right off the charts is Nikita Karasilev. And he was a Maple Leafs draft pick a couple of years back. They chose not to sign him, so he's now a free agent, but he's got the kind of skill. I mean, he's going to be a pro somewhere, one way or the other. There's no doubt about it. The two of them last week went in a span, the two players, in 3 games where they had 22 points. And they weren't even necessarily playing together. So each had 11 points in a span of 3 games. So when either of those two guys is really on, and they were last week for a stretch, then they can do some major damage.
You've been with the Petes for a number of years now. Who are some of the best players that you've seen come through in your time there?
Nick Ritchie, who's now in the National Hockey League, certainly one of them. Austin Watson, who came through now in the NHL. Andrew Yogan was a real good player there for a few years. There's a few that kind of jump out. Certainly there's a few more that are in the National League, kind of somewhere near the end of their career. A guy like Patrick Coletta was sort of around when I was in the league, but not working for the Petes at the time. So yeah, there's certainly a few, and there's a long tradition of Peterborough Petes in the National Hockey League, certainly going back to, the coaching of Roger Nielsen and Scotty Bowman and players like Bob Gainey and Steve Yzerman and Chris Pronger, through the decades.
Lastly, I wanted to ask about rivalries that Peterborough has. The Petes, of course, as you said, a long-time traditional team in the OHL. Who are the teams that fans get fired up to come in to see play Peterborough?
There's really only one rivalry that matters, and that's Oshawa. It's not to say that there haven't been other rivalries that have come and gone over the years, but Peterborough and Oshawa are, for those who don't know, are about 35, 40 minutes away from each other. In a snowstorm, 50 minutes. But people will still do the drive. So when either team plays, there's fans from the other who are there. Of course, Oshawa is the home of General Motors, and for decades and decades, there would be people who live in Peterborough who do the commute all the way to Oshawa for work, and there's sort of an internal rivalry that would get built up there. So yeah, they have had a decades-long rivalry, those two cities, and there have been some over the years that have kind of been bloodbaths. The most recent game between the two teams didn't have a penalty until halfway through the third period. So things are changing just a little bit, but certainly if you're a Peterborough Pete or you're an Oshawa General, you get fired up for the other side.
Yeah, kind of a statement of the game, I suppose, but I'm sure the fans are still pretty fired up about it. Well, Rob, we thank you for telling us about everything Pete's related. Best of luck to you and the team this season.
Thanks, Patrick. Nice to be on.
That's Rob Snoek, the voice of the Peterborough Petes, joining us at the intermission. You're listening to Carstar, Cape Breton Scream Eagles Hockey, 1270 CJCB.